Hey everyone, it's another episode of Chats with Chels this week. It's a beautiful sunny Friday out, and I'm here with Chrissy Rossiter of Peachy. So I got some sick new mugs this week, Chats with Chels mugs. So we're going to have third place gin and tonic with Newfoundland Distillery gin, and we're going to get started. So let's hear a little bit about Peachy and what's on the go with that, what you do.
That's a good drink I made.
Chrissy shook these up before we got started. So
accidentally made doubles, but we're not really complaining about it.
It's Friday. It's fine.
So Peachy is a software company that I started. Myself and my co-founder Diego Sulaka are the two people running it for now. And what we do is we provide a software that home care agencies use to help them better track the time of their remote working care staff.
So when you guys started this, that's not how you started. You started in something totally different. So what's that process of pivoting and growing been like?
Yeah, so when we started, Peachy was initially a text message reminder system for seniors. So we would send them notifications to kind of let them know if they needed to take medication or eat a meal, whatever. And kind of through this crazy learning process, by talking to customers, we identified that that idea didn't really have a fit into what seniors' actual daily routine was.
So at what point did you figure that out?
So figured that out after a couple months by interviewing like a bunch of seniors and doctors and their families, and then the next step was to go to we went to retirement homes and we talked to like a lot of homes, to which we then realized there isn't really that big of a problem. Like they have big problems, but let's keep looking. To then we started looking at the home care agencies who they have they might have 100 to 800 employees, home support workers, nurses that will go into seniors' homes to take care of them. And we identified that they have a whole suite of issues when trying to run their business. They have remote working staff. They have regulations that they have to follow by government because government subsidizes the costs, and then both the employees and the seniors, the technology is pretty limited in what can be used. So with that comes a lot of operational inefficiencies. So we've kind of identified a lot of different ones, and now we're focusing on like their main problem and came up with a solution for that.
So I guess when you got started, you had just kind of started Peachy and you were a participant in the Mel Woodward Cup. So that's coming up again pretty soon. So what was your experience with that like?
Yeah, so the Mel Woodward Cup was just kind of an amazing way of validating that, the idea or, kind of the idea was something that had a lot of need for pursuing in relation to like what kind of a problem it was and how big it was, and it needs to get solved when you think of the aging population, and there's so many, and then what our province and country is able to sustain. So that was really great. But then also going up there on stage and just pitching, which was a pretty scary thing, gave me some confidence to say, what, I can kind of, go out there and talk to people and keep going after this idea, because, people, the judges and people that in the audience that talked to me after, like they saw potential in it and they saw potential in me. So it was really excellent in that regard. And then to get a lot of feedback, on what I'd kind of pitched on. And then finally to kind of have that platform where people hear about what you're working on, and you're known as the person that's trying to solve problems to help seniors. So by having kind of that visibility, I've had different people approach me to be like, hey, you're doing this thing, well, you should talk to this person. So got a lot of really great contacts in that way.
And I think one of the big things about starting a business here in St. John's or in Newfoundland in general is it's almost like you're never more than like one or two connections away from like someone who can really help you. So I know like just by attending events, you're always running into people. So I guess who've been some of the people who have mentored and inspired you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I don't even know where to start. So
move this up.
So for I guess mentors, currently we're talking to some different people, and Peter Gifford is like huge help with kind of the different stages that we've gone through. Like when things are on fire, he comes in and helps us put them out and get us on the right track.
For anyone who isn't aware, Peter is with Propel ICT, so he's trying to think. I don't know what his actual role is. Just for a side note, but continue.
I think it's entrepreneur in residence, but I could be wrong. And then I guess also with Propel is Sarah Murphy. So she really helped at the kind of early stage, back when we were, had the application directly for seniors. So she kind of helped with that pivot that I talked about. And, there are a lot of people in the community where, that we'll just have talked to once or twice and have gotten so much help from, like, in the very beginning, even I'm just thinking, had a really great chat with like Mandy Woodland, and she just was like, here are all the things that you should be thinking of, and then it's just excellent kind of guidance in that way, and then now, we'll have a problem come up and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have an issue with like onboarding or customer success or whatever. And, we've talked to people like at Misa and Hayworka, and they they're just so willing to offer advice because it's stuff that they've gone through. And there's no better kind of place to look. So, that's been great. And then, as well, kind of talk to some people that, are in the industry and previous employers and whatnot. And then like the Munn Center for Entrepreneurship has just been a huge help in that we can work out of there, but then we also get some mentorship as well. So.
Yeah, I know. I like just from being here, there's just so many people in the ecosystem here that I find are willing to help. And I talked about this last week on my podcast with David, but we were talking about the Ocean Supercluster, but we're just talking about how amazing it is that these partnerships are developing, and how, for a long time and even now in some ways, that there's a lot of like competition, but now it's moving towards more like community over competition, where, if one person succeeds, then everyone succeeds. So I think that it's really cool to be like rooting for each other and rooting for each other's success.
Yeah. I think Newfoundland, we've always had such a strong sense of community, and, I've really felt that. And, and again, it's like, you want to get all the help, and then you want to help others as well. So it's a very giving community, and but despite being small, I think that there are so many more benefits to starting a business here than at any of the other provinces about that sense of community, and for other reasons as well.
So what was it that drove you to say, I'm going to start this business here, I'm going to stay here, this is my legacy or my dream, I guess?
Starting it here was more so situational. Like I was just here and didn't really think about, staying here or like wanting to stay here. The idea wasn't like maybe I'll go elsewhere, whatever could have happened. But then now I've gotten to a place where, I like Peachy is going to be like a Newfoundland company, and we're going to stay here because just through the growing that we've done and the group of supports that we've been able to grow as well. I think it makes the most sense for us. Like we've really identified that this is kind of a home, but then we also feel like because we've been given so much by say like MCE, the university, different mentors and different startups in the area. Well, like we want to be able to hopefully give back in some way too, and what better way than to be able to create some jobs here in the province. And I just love Newfoundland anyways. I want to keep living here.
I know, it's so beautiful, especially on days where it's like windy and rainy and you're soaked. You're like, why am I here? But yesterday, I'm from New Brunswick originally, so I moved here, and my parents got I think like 25 centimeters of snow or something.
Oh.
So, and yet here it's like 9 degrees and sunny today.
Right, it's crazy. So it's the weather isn't why we're here, but there's a lot of bigger things that have a good impact on us.
Yeah, I think it's like a big part is like just like being by the water and everything makes it really beautiful here too. So that's it's drawn me in.
Yeah, it's true. It's just a beautiful place and great environment.
So you were talking about your co-founder, Diego. So I know that there's a lot of people who, maybe have really a business idea, but not necessarily the technological skills, or, someone who's a technology person, but, wants someone to, handle their marketing or handle like their business partnerships. Mm-hmm. So how did you guys find each other?
So we found each other because we were both doing entrepreneurial work terms. He's doing the computer science undergrad, and I'm doing the business commerce program. So last summer, he was working on his startup called Camina, it was a trail app, right. And then I was working on kind of original Peachy, the text messages to seniors, and we kind of just worked alongside each other on our own projects a lot, and then started to, like, I was kind of helping him with some things. He was helping me with way more things than I was helping him with. I'm like, why isn't the internet working? Like, just, there was a lot of kind of starting up a web page and, having things connected properly and like silly little kind of starting points. But like at that time, I hadn't really had any sort of experience with that, and it was all by myself. And he was just like so willing to help. And, through working together, we started chatting a little bit about him joining Peachy, and then his app didn't end up continuing. So, I kind of said, hey, like, you want to join? Like, what do you think? And, I think it was kind of just, we had to spend a lot of time working together, and it was good. We had a lot of fun, and he's really passionate about helping seniors as well. And, has this like really great background of back end like development, and just, wants to come up with a really cool solution. So yeah, I think that's kind of where things began.
So what is some of the advice that you have for, maintaining a good working relationship with a co-founder or a partner?
I would definitely say that communication is super key. I think like giving each other honest feedback on a continuous basis is really important. But also kind of setting the stage for that, like setting the stage for, trusting each other and feeling like you can say what's on your mind, without the other person, responding in different ways, and then, constantly checking that you're on the same page with the different plans that are going forward. So
I guess this isn't super related to co-founding, but just on, the things that we mentioned. So I would say, what is the best piece of criticism that you've ever received? That might be in here, but I'm not sure. So if you draw it, we'll just skip it.
The best piece of criticism I've ever received. That is such a hard question. Oh my gosh. Let me think about it for a second. I guess the best piece of criticism that I've received would be
I'll tell one of mine.
Please, I just have to think about it.
This isn't one of my best ones, but I was just telling Chrissy about this earlier. So Chrissy and I actually met on the Center for Entrepreneurship. We were both entrepreneurial ambassadors back in 2015, 2016? Or 2016, 2015, 2016. It's like when you forget your age.
Yeah.
And we had another friend on the board, and he also was on my podcast, my very first one, my friend Jan. And my funniest piece of criticism that I've gotten was actually from Jan. And he said, I don't like the name of your podcast. You should change it. So here we are, 16 episodes later, still the same name. But yeah, this is our cheers to Jan. But, I value, hearing from people and hearing their opinions and their thoughts. And I think that it is always good to, like, give that feedback. And he's really knowledgeable in the business community. So we'll... maybe I should have listened to him. Maybe I shouldn't have. We'll figure it out. But now we have the mugs with the name on it official, so I feel like it's too late to turn back.
It's too late. The mugs are here, Jan. The feedback was not received, but it was appreciated. Yeah. Okay, I still don't really know the answer, but I'm just going to say, I guess, from Diego, I guess the best piece of feedback that's just coming to mind right now would be about being slightly less direct. Not to him in particular, but you know, it's important to appeal to someone's emotional side as well as the rational side. So kind of having a better balance with that. So yeah, I think that would be the answer.
I think that's a really excellent piece of advice that we could all follow. I'm like the same way. I'm like pretty direct with people. So sometimes I guess that comes off as a little bit too direct. I always say when I travel, I always love going to like Eastern Europe, because like Germany, and I guess Germany's not Eastern, but you know, if you go there, like the Czech Republic or Hungary, they're all just like so straightforward.
Jan is from Czech.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just like they don't care. They'll tell you anything. So it's well appreciated.
Yeah, not as much in the North American culture. You gotta be
like
a bit
Canadian culture. I feel like Canadian is just like so polite that you're like you don't want to hurt people's feelings or like offend them or anything like that. So I find you know, I bump into like the door or the wall and I'm like, oh sorry, and I'm like, I literally just apologize to an inanimate object.
Yeah, it's funny when you like bump into another Canadian and you have a sorry off and you're kind of like, oh sorry, no, I'm sorry, no,
I'm the sorriest.
I'm like so much more sorry than you. So sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think like the best thing, it was on Spotted at Mum, but it actually like made it to like worldwide, like BuzzFeed or something, and it was like if you have two doors that are together, do you say thank you at the first one, thank you at the second one, or thank you at both? So they're like, this is the most Canadian problem I've ever seen.
That is tough though. I think about that too, and I like for a while was like, I don't know, I've already said it, so I'm not going to say it again, like they know. But I think I say it both times now. It's kind of like, you know, they've done it twice. They, you know, that was like the fee of the door opening is that you got to give the thank you. And yeah.
My favorite little expression of gratitude is the thank you wave. So like when you're driving, if you like let someone out, or like you let a pedestrian cross in places that they're not really supposed to be crossing,
right,
and they like give you like the little like thank you wave.
Oh yeah, those are good.
I get kind of upset when I don't get a thank you wave. If I like go out of my way, if I like stop and like specifically like let someone out into traffic, and they're just like driving along stone faced, I'm like, okay, you could have been waiting there for like 5 more minutes, like give the thank you wave.
Yeah, I don't know, like people, you can see each other. I don't know, some people think they're in this car and they're in this like little bubble, but I'm a walker. I walk everywhere, and I'm always giving the little, you know, even when I'm just going and like someone's not gonna hit me, I'm like,
thank you,
thanks for not hitting me on that crosswalk. I appreciate you not running me over.
Oh my god, funniest thing, I was going to the farmers market here in St. John's right before Christmas, and I was at the crosswalk, and I like both drive in the city and walk in the city, and like the traffic here is just, it's crazy. But I was like stopped at the crosswalk and I saw a truck coming, and I was like, hey, I see this truck coming, and I was like, as a driver, like I know it's annoying when like pedestrians just pop out into the crosswalk. So I stopped, made eye contact with him, like made sure that he was stopping. He stopped. I started into the crosswalk. There was another truck coming behind him and rear-ended him into the crosswalk. So I like wound up like just jumping out of the way.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
I was like, this is like the worst. And it's funny because I'd had like a car accident earlier this year, and it was just like one intersection down from that
same area. Is that on Elizabeth Ave?
Yeah,
that's where I'm always walking. And then there's the intersection in Allendale and Elizabeth. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I almost get run over there all the time.
The one where I almost got hit though was right by where Bonaventure like turns into. Where Bonaventure turns into whatever that other one is.
By like the Remax Center.
Yes.
Yeah, that area. Like that's where all the students are walking, and then the cars are driving quite quickly.
Quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was like, as a pedestrian, you're not protected. You know, I don't know. Some people like will just kind of trot along and not really look, and like they feel like they're I have the right of way, whatever, as a person. But like, I don't know. If you get hit, you'll probably not be all right, but like the car is going to be fine.
Yeah.
So despite the laws that exist, like I feel like you should probably just check and see if there's a car coming, and like always assume that they're going to hit you. So just like make eye contact like you did, that sort of thing. I do that too, but like at that intersection where I am, people are almost getting hit or actually getting hit often, and because it is kind of a busier one, and there's a lot of people crossing all the time. Yeah,
I think people just overall need to pay more attention, like in everything, like driving, walking, like the city especially, I find is like especially rough. Like with the snow clearing is hilarious. Like, you'll like be walking, and I don't understand how it happens. Like, you're walking, sidewalk, snowbank. Like, you go out around it, sidewalk, snowbank.
Like a little tunnel through the snowbank.
Yeah.
You gotta crawl through trenches.
I'm not sure if like people like shovel like onto the sidewalk and just leave a snowbank there, or like I don't know how they get there. It's like it's one of my life mysteries.
Yeah, at least we don't have snow right now, so like knock on wood that we don't get any anymore.
No more. I know. I'm so done with it.
Yeah.
So back to worky things.
Okay.
So, you said the Memorial Center for Entrepreneurship was super beneficial, but recently you also joined the Communitech, Fierce Female Founders?
Yes, so that was a program that I applied for and got accepted into. So it was called the Fierce Founders Bootcamp.
Okay.
And they're essentially the way that it works is all of the startups that are accepted into it have to have a female co-founder or founder. So startups from across Canada were accepted into it, and even from the States. And we did two 3-day sessions at Communitech in Kitchener, with the end of like the goal of the whole program being to learn how to grow your business and then be able to pitch it, because there was a pitching competition with a $100,000 prize.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was like a really great experience because of that first boot camp being all workshops and hearing how to do this, how to do that from people that I'd never met before, which was really beneficial, and hearing it for specific aspects of the business that I hadn't even looked at. Like I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to say what I hadn't looked at that point. But and then kind of along with that was gaining a contact for if you did need help. So we touched on marketing, sales, the financial bit, raising investment, even HR. Like it was just all of it was just so beneficial with what was taught. And then they actually put us into specific groups based on the stage that we were in, so that it was even more relevant what we had been learning. And
so what would you say is the most beneficial takeaway that you had from that experience?
The most beneficial takeaway, I think, with regards to the learning piece, the sales session was the most important for me personally, just because I had been doing different sales meetings, and I had never done a sales meeting before. So there are a lot of little things that you're supposed to do, but you're not going to inherently do them. However, it's like proper etiquette to do them, or it makes like sense from a sales strategy point of view. So learning, from setting the meeting to during the meeting to making that final sale to the after sale process, like that whole piece was so crucial for where I was and am in my business. And it got me thinking then too, like what I had been doing before, like the pieces that I wasn't doing right, and then what I was too. But that's something that I have been able to take forward like all the time. But I think like as a whole, what the benefit was that I learned about every part of building a startup at the same time. So I got this really good kind of high level perspective on like, what do we need to do to, grow? What do we need to do to succeed? And then, as I mentioned, the group of contacts that went along with that. And, I guess the other benefit too was meeting all of these startups with female founders, which was just amazing to be with them all. Cause, I'm kind of, one of the few female founders that work out of the Center for Entrepreneurship. However, this number's like crazy growing. It's amazing. But as like a female to a female, like there are things that we relate on more so than like a female to a male, and vice versa. So, hearing kind of their own situations and how relatable they were, but then also having them as like this kind of network of people that, you know, we can all talk to each other. Still, we have like a Slack channel, and you know, if we ever need any help, or if we just want to, you know, just talk about what we're feeling or what we're thinking, and say, hey, you know, you're in a similar like position as I am, you know, what do you think? And you know, there was like people from all stages of life, so it was really great for that.
So I guess one of the things that, you know, one of my questions would be is, how do you think that we can get more exposure for women entrepreneurs and encourage more young women to pursue, you know, starting a business or joining the technology sector?
I think that when looking at that specific thing, it's you know, focusing on, you know, if there are any sort of barriers that exist, looking at those barriers, and, you know, trying to break them down. You know, I think that things have come such a long way, and you know, I'm really fortunate to, you know, be pursuing this when I am, because of how much these barriers have been broken down. So I'm like really appreciative of it, because, you know, 20 years ago it wouldn't be the same thing. So I think, you know, kind of still just ensuring that there are, you know, minimal barriers, and then looking at, you know, how do you ensure that men and women can work cohesively, and understanding the way that men work and understanding the way that women work and how they differ, and you know, kind of creating some awareness around that, and you know, I guess the final piece would be for, you know, the mentorship of women by women, I think is very important. You know, because there are things that women themselves would relate to more so, and with business, and with kind of their own personal growth. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love that answer. That was great. Thank you. I totally agree on all those points. And also another one, I guess, that I would suggest is, you know, making sure that there is women representation on, you know, when you have a panel, having, like, you know, women representation who are in business. I find I go to a fair amount of events, and a lot of the time you'll see it's just like all dudes, and I'm like, okay, like, it is, you know, it's great, their experiences, but sometimes you just like want to hear someone who has had, I guess, a little more similar experiences to you. So
right, and then wouldn't be as relatable. And it is a challenge too, where you have less women interested in these types of pursuits, and like that's completely normal, you know, for like the clustering of men to go after certain jobs and women after other jobs, but for everyone to get a benefit out of something like that, you know, you do need to have a female like yeah, and like in some regard, for sure. And it's really hard to kind of solve that problem, you know, because there are so many different views on what that solution would look like and how to get there in a way that's fair for everyone. But yeah,
I think that one of the things that I've noticed as well is, like, a lot of women who actually are like business owners, you know, are reluctant to refer to themselves as an entrepreneur, because, you know, like, your hairstylist, entrepreneur, like, you know, the chances are they've like started that business from their home, or, you know, your doctor, entrepreneur, but they you know, don't necessarily recognize themselves that way. So I think that that's something interesting to look at as well. Yeah,
I think that's even that's an interesting concept, because like even my dad, who owned a contracting company where he was selling like services directly to people, he wouldn't have looked at himself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I guess like we can look at all of these different kind of activities and see what the value and like how that is like an entrepreneurial endeavor, which, you know, I guess to them, like, it's just a part of what they do. So they're like, oh yeah, like that's sure, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, that's just the thing I do. Yeah. But you know, maybe if they do identify it that way, then they would be more likely to take advantages of some of the supports that exist for entrepreneurs and talk to other entrepreneurs that might be doing a different kind of thing but have similar needs or problems.
So at the end of every show, we have you draw 3 questions from what we call the Jar of Awesome. So some of them come from our Facebook, some of them come from emails, and some of them are just ones I made up. Some of them are a little tougher, and some of them are kind of silly. So you usually pick one at a time, so I guess you can pick up your first one.
All right, I hope I get 3 sillies.
3 sillies.
Oh, wow. What is the best book you have read? I think the best book that I have read, the best nonfiction book I think I will go with just to make sense of it. I would have to say How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is the best book I've read.
Cool. I haven't read that one.
Okay, so it's the name is a bit funny, but I mean that's really what it is. It's you know, how do you kind of build up your own image to others and how they perceive you through you know, different behaviors and actions in that that are like really crucial to, you know, whether it's like building relationships, building sales or personal, but then it's also like maintaining those relationships, and you know, kind of the bigger picture of the whole book is how to be a good leader and how to influence people, you know, not by being in a position of power and telling them what to do, but influence people to want to do things. And you know, that's kind of the big difference. So it really teaches you, you know, the art behind that, and it's a great read. I would certainly recommend it to anyone in any position because, you know, there are pieces in this book that would be applicable for sure.
Have to add it to my list.
Yeah. All right. Number 2. So it was 3. Yep. Okay.
So you get number 2.
Okay. Oh.
Or I guess you picked out 3.
Oh, I already kind of...
Yeah, okay. So I did say that the criticism advice one was potentially in here, so she did pick it out. You have this one. What are you doing? You picked out...
All right. I didn't want to do that one.
Okay. You can pick out another one if you really don't want to do it.
Actually, I'll do this one. And then I have... the next one's great. It's a good one to finish on.
Okay.
So, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self? My 18-year-old self, I would say, stop being such a big baby, work hard at things, and take responsibility, and things will be all right.
I think that's like my little trademark that I use in my business as well, is work hard, do good, be incredible. So I think it's a pretty good little trajectory to follow.
Yeah.
So now we get to finish with her silly question of the day, which she seems to be pretty excited about. After all these tough ones, it's a good one to finish off on.
All right, I'm actually going to break the script here that we've been following.
Okay.
And I'm putting on the song.
You're putting on the song.
So what song pumps you up? Oh, you'll hear my song.
Okay.
All right. Oh wait, I guess the mic is right here.
Yeah, we're having technical difficulties. Mine's actually Juicy by Biggie Smalls, so I'm not judging.
This is it. This is the song. Before any sales meeting, the song goes on.
I like,
I guess it's pretty explicit, though.
What is it?
What's it called? Give it to
you. Yes, right. I knew it sounded so familiar. I think on my way to exams and stuff, I'm always like listening to what is it? I'm gonna knock you out.
Okay.
Well, thanks everyone.
Rated R.
Thanks, rated R. That's okay. I think thanks everyone for tuning in, and this was a great way to end the show. We should just end all the shows this way with a little dance party, just like Ellen. So have a good day, and don't forget to press subscribe if you're listening on iTunes or YouTube, and we'll see you next week.